Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the 2021 NASCAR NR2003 Cup Series season here on the channel. Every week we do a Cup Series race following along with the real-life NASCAR Cup Series schedule with the field full of 40 cars, or 39 cars for the most part. But today we are here at Darlington Raceway for one of the throwback races. We don't have any throwback paint schemes on the cars today. I would have gotten that if I had time, but maybe next time we come here later this year, I will be able to do that. But I'm very excited to get this one underway. Last week we had Jay absent, but he is here today. Jay, excited for some Darlington Southern whatever 100 racing we got today?
It's the
Yeah,
good year for.
go ahead, Karma.
It's the good year 400.
Yeah, we are. The Southern 500 is still in September. But yes, I'm always excited to come to Darlington, even when it's the 500-mile race and it's one of the longest races of the year. But luckily, this is not that race. Always cool to have the throwback stuff, which of course, like Gary mentioned, we don't have today, but maybe we will later this year. The track is always really fun to race around. It's always fun to watch these guys navigate this track, and of course, we always worry about the Darlington stripes and all that kind of stuff. So I'm sure it'll be a good race, and I'm excited for it.
We got Matt joining us in the booth once again as well. You see up at the top of your screen 166 laps. So we are going to be doing 45 laps in stage 1, 45 laps in stage 2. That will take us to lap 90, and then we'll be going from lap 91 to 166 or so to decide the race here in the Goodyear 400 now. As you see on pole, Brad Keselowski last week, Eric Almirola came out of nowhere, won his second race of the season at Kansas. So he is now actually the second driver to have multiple wins, along with his Stewart Haas Racing teammate of Kevin Harvick. Chris Buescher, though, still leads the regular season standings coming into today. He had a rough race last week in Kansas, still managed to stay out of trouble and find himself with a good position at the end of this race now, as we're ready to take the green flag here in the Goodyear 400 with Brad Keselowski, Kyle Larson on the front row. Matt, a track like this, I would always think that maybe Eric Jones or something would be the one that comes into mind, but obviously he's no longer in a top-tier car. Who do you have in mind maybe here today at Darlington for a potential threat to win this race?
Denny Hamlin.
Denny Hamlin, there you have it. He's actually right there on the bottom row, fourth in line right now as Keselowski clears Larson as his teammate of Ryan Blaney. We actually have all Penske cars right now up inside the top 5 now, as Keselowski has won at Darlington before in his career, but he's not even going to lead the first lap. There is Blaney, barely gets him at the line to lead lap 1 as they're side-by-side off into turns 1. Jay, what about you? Who do you think is going to be the big threat right here to win this race?
I think it's pretty hard to go against Denny Hamlin here at Darlington, but I'm going to do it, and I'm going to go with Kyle Larson. He's just been too strong so far this season, and he's been okay at Darlington before, and I really just do, again, go back to the Hendrick equipment. I really think that's going to make him excel at pretty much every track, and we've already seen that out of him a lot this season, so I'm going to go with Kyle Larson.
Jay goes with Kyle Larson. Matt went with Denny Hamlin. I myself actually am also going to go with Denny Hamlin there in that 11 card, currently running in P6. Blaney leads the way, already single file through the most part of the top 10 now is back here, though. You see Kyle Busch running currently in 9th place. Kyle Busch off to a horrendous season, probably the worst start of his career. After Kansas, he is now actually 41 points below the cut line, tied with his Joe Gibbs Racing teammate of Martin Truex Jr. Of course, Jay, you didn't were absent last week at Kansas, but once again, Kyle Busch has had trouble. Nothing went right for him, and now here he is, 41 points below that cut line. What does that team got to do? It's not the end of the world for them, obviously, but what do they got to do to get themselves back into this?
I think at this point they have to look towards wins. 41 points is pretty hard to overcome at this point in the season. It's not impossible, and with how good of a driver Kyle Busch is, it's definitely not out of his range for him to do. But I think that the first and immediate thing that team has to look towards is to get their performance better and to get them around towards the end of these races so that way he can get a win. Because I think that's the easiest path for them to go down at this point. 41 points is just going to be almost too much for that team to overcome.
And a really interesting playoff situation right now. You see Christopher Bell. He was in the playoffs for the first part of the season. Now the first one out, 8 points below that cut line. Ross Chastain picking up that win earlier at Talladega really shifted things in the wrong direction for a guy like him. Keselowski, who's currently running up towards the front of the pack right now, here in second place, just in front of Kyle Larson. He is 20 points below the cut line. Eric Jones right now having a surprisingly solid season with that RPM team. as he is at 24 points below the cut line. So he's still in the fight. Matt, I mean, of course, you being an Eric Jones fan, I mean, I don't know about you, but I really wouldn't expect that RPM car to be in that position that it currently is here in the NR 2003 season.
Well, yeah, well, considering that this is a game, he is performing much better in the game apparently than IRL. Pain.
There he is right now. I mean, actually, right now he's running P25, so not a good start for him here
But
in Darlington.
that seems about realistic to real life.
Right now, though,
RPM.
behind Bubba Wallace in the 2311 racing car, Bubba currently inside the playoffs, 25 points above the cut line. We're not going to try and get into too much playoff talk because we still got quite a ways to go here in the regular season, but we definitely want to spend some time each week touching upon the situation at hand. Like Matt DiBenedetto right now, 8 points above the cut line. Daniel Suarez, 12 points above the cut line. Ryan Blaney, 32. Elliott, 35. William Byron, 41 above. Tyler Reddick, 50 points above the cut line. I mean, Jay, Tyler Reddick, Richard Childress Racing, I mean, blowing the doors off of his teammate of Austin Dillon this year, and right now, one of the best drivers without a win, which I don't think any of us saw coming.
Yeah, I think that Tyler Reddick is another guy who's been taking advantage again of some teams struggling. I mean, we look at the playoff standings. We have 3 Joe Gibbs cars outside of the playoffs right now, and 2 of them, Truex and Kyle Busch, are guys that we always expect to be in the playoffs, especially with the last few years. So Tyler Reddick has been running. I mean, not to take away anything from him, he's been running exceptional this year compared to where you think he would be running, and he's got himself very, very deep and locked into the playoffs. I pretty sure, unless he starts DNFing every single week, I would consider him locked in on points at this point. And another guy as well doing that is Bubba Wallace and also Daniel Suarez. Those two are, I would say, not expected to be in the playoffs, especially both teams being in their first year. And they are in the playoffs at the moment. They've been having good enough performances to stay in there. They've been outrunning a lot of these guys who are around the playoff cutoff line. So it's been a good first half of the year so far for them, and they need to keep it going.
A guy who hasn't had a great start, Alex Bowman, right there. He's been slowly kind of getting a little bit better, and he's been slowly closing that gap to the cutoff, but he's exactly what his car number is right now, 48 points below the cut line currently. Is another driver that's kind of been stepping up is the rookie of Chase Briscoe. We've seen him in the mix lately, but he is still 67 points below the cut line. And then actually Cody Ware is the next guy in points behind Briscoe, but at that point, I mean, you can pretty much write everybody below him off unless they come through to win a race. Now, as you see, DiBenedetto side by side with Bowman down the front straightaway into turns 1. They're going at it a little bit now as we go back towards the front here. Kyle Busch right now battling for 7th place with Chase Elliott. Another thing that I'm really going to be keeping an eye on, guys, is, of course, we know that lap traffic is always a factor when it comes to these NR 2003 races, but I mean, we're already seeing these guys having a bit of a tough time trying to pass. We're able to get side by side, but I mean, Matt, what do you expect from the lap traffic here today? I mean, right now they're coming out of turns 4. They seem to have decent pace, but I mean, you saw what they were last week at Kansas where we had multi-groove racing. So, I mean, how hard is it going to be for these guys to pass here tonight?
It's gonna be absolute pain.
Absolute pain?
Yeah, I mean, the AI generally aren't smart enough to just drive around them half the time, and it's already hard enough to do like in the normal games and stuff. So I'd imagine it's gonna be brutal in this. So,
and I mean, we saw last week Denny Hamlin, who was in position to win in Kansas, got stuck behind that driver right there that we're focusing on, Kurt Busch, in that number 1 car, who already has the win this season. So does Denny Hamlin. But I mean, Jay, I mean, what do you think about the lap traffic tonight? I think it's going to probably be a huge factor.
I don't think it's going to be as big of a deal as we've seen places before. There is still technically 2 lines you can run at Darlington. But it would not surprise me at all to see these guys stay in the way. I mean, we've seen it happen time and time again this season, like at Vegas, where we think if that's a track where these guys can run 2 different lines and the AI was still in the way. So would not surprise me at all to see the lap traffic be a factor again tonight. Always is. Seems like it always is every week. And we, when it comes down towards the end of the race, we start getting crash cars and guys who are towards the front because of restarts and stuff. We wind up seeing these outcomes being affected by those AI and by those lap cars. So it would not surprise me to see that happen again here today.
So far, everybody keeping their cars pretty clean right now. As you see side by side here, we got the two new teams in the series, 2311 versus Trackhouse Racing Suarez on the top, and it definitely seems like that top is an advantage quite a bit through turns 1 and 2, especially on the exit there, and that allows Suarez to get back clear of Bubba now as he moves up the track, though, right there, and allows Bubba to get back up his inside. Both of those drivers right now, the first season for those new teams, both currently, like we mentioned earlier, inside of the playoffs here. Now is William Byron just in front of these two going at it here at the back of Austin Dillon. Byron's had, not only in real life, but in NR2003, a breakout season here. I mean, Jay, we've seen some strong performances out of William. I mean, at Martinsville, he was in position to win until a late race caution came out, and then he lost a bunch of track position on a pit stop, and he could never make it up from there. But we know that 24, he's going to be a threat, I think, all season long, right into the playoffs.
Yeah, he's had a great year, like you mentioned, both here and in real life, and he's really had career seasons at a time where you kind of probably needed that. You know, you and I both have had our skeptics of him. I've really wanted him to perform because I liked him a lot in the Xfinity series, but when he got to the Cup series, he didn't perform, and he looked kind of lost. And then all of a sudden this year, he got that win last year, and all of a sudden this year he has turned it up. He's looked a lot better. He's kind of outperformed his teammates at some points. He's at very least, he's been the second best in the car all season long, right there behind Kyle Larson. So he's performing like he should, and he's performing like he needs to, and he certainly looks like he's going to be a playoff contender and someone who can make a deep run into the playoffs this year.
Hendrick Motorsports overall looking very strong other than Alex Bowman this season. I mean, at the same time, only one of their drivers does have a win. That's Kyle Larson. But we look back at Martinsville, 3 of those Hendrick cars were going at it for a win. Now, as you see, Suarez still battling it out back there with Bubba Wallace. Chris Buescher right now leads the regular season standings, running right now in the 19th position, and we actually lowered his rating a little bit probably 2 or 3 weeks ago, but it doesn't seem to matter with this guy. Chris Buescher still finds a way to stay out of the trouble and keep himself in position at the end of these races to get good results and find a way to just increase his points lead. Right now he currently has 416 points coming into this race, and the car or driver closest behind him is Kyle Larson with 399. So Larson's not very far behind him. And Jay, we know how crucial that regular season championship is going to be for one of these guys, because that adds, I think, 15 playoff points or so to your name. So I mean, that could be, I mean, it could completely change the outcome of your season if you win that regular season championship.
And if there's any one guy who needs those 15 extra points, it's going to be Chris Buescher, because we have not seen him get up there and win a lot of stages this season. We haven't seen him lead a lot of laps, and we certainly haven't seen him in contention for a win. We've seen him be up front towards the end, but we haven't seen him be he hasn't been the guy that we've said, we think he's going to win today, and he probably won't do that for the rest of the regular season unless something absolutely crazy happens. So he is the one person who's going to need those 15 points. There's a lot of others who need those 15 points as well. And don't get me wrong, 15 points is a lot, and it could help out a lot of these guys. But Chris Buescher is probably the most needing of those points because of how lackluster he's going to be in playoff points compared to other guys.
Now, I mean, you look at, of course, Jay, the speed in that 17 car. I mean, he drives for Roush Fenway Racing. Just a quick note, you did see Ryan Newman actually clip the wall there a few laps ago. First Darlington stripe we've actually seen. But we note the speed in that 17. Do you think he's going to be able to continue to put up this level of performance for the rest of the season? We still got, after today, 14 regular season races to go. Like, do you see him managing that same level of performance and going for that championship for the regular season?
He's done it for the first half, so I don't see why he can't do it for the second half, unless his good luck runs out and he starts wind up being in all those wrecks. Then that'll, of course, affect that. But if things continue as they are, then no, I don't see that changing at all. I see him staying as the guy in the front, if not right there in second place, and still getting a good bit of playoff points. So his performance, again, or his speed in the car, like you mentioned, is not excellent. It's not top team, but he's still good enough to run top 15. And then if he keeps himself out of trouble when it inevitably comes each race, and we have a lot of guys DNF in front of him, then he'll be able to get those good finishes and keep himself in the points position where he's at.
You see all of the top 10 currently all with each other, and then they kind of have a breakaway. Larson trying to put some pressure on Keselowski right now for second place. You look at the fastest laps right now. Kevin Harvick, the fastest car on track so far. Joey Logano second. Both of those drivers have a win. Denny Hamlin. I mean, all the drivers in the top four have already won this season in terms of fastest laps. Then you got Elliott with the fifth fastest lap. But Kyle Busch right now having a strong run here in the side, the top 10 currently in stage one. Stage one, like we mentioned, ends once we hit lap 46. They will be coming to the pit lane in probably about 10 laps time here. So going to be interesting to see how that shuffles out. Now we haven't really seen any green flag pit stops at Darlington. We don't know how that's going to work, but hopefully everybody's going to get onto the pit lane just fine and have no incidents. Now, as you see, Harvick and Almirola at the very back part of the top 10 here now as Elliott continues to try and march his way throughout the field. Denny Hamlin's kind of at a standstill. Both Matt and myself picked him to win this race. Right now, he just can't really seem to go anywhere as he runs down in now the fifth position, over sixth place of Joey Logano. There's you see Larson now actually under attack from Kurt Busch's former teammate now, but I think that outside's probably going to end up prevailing now, and we might know, Matt, you've probably heard the rumors of potentially this could be Kurt Busch's final year. We really don't actually know for sure, but it's kind of been hinted at. We saw like a weird video he put on social media a while back, but here he is in what could be his final season of his Cup Series career. He's already won a race at Richmond a couple weeks back, but here he is right now, having a great run. What do you make so far of his performance here tonight in the first 28 laps of this race?
Not surprising, because Kurt Busch is very good driver, and oftentimes underrated for how good he really actually is. And it's not surprising to me at all how he's performing.
And I mean, I guess when it comes to Darlington, we know it as a true driver's racetrack, they like to call it now, as Kurt Busch having a good run so far, looking again up the inside of Kyle Larson as Ryan Blaney continues to lead the way. Jay, we've seen Blaney a couple times now have a chance at victory, most notably Phoenix. He lost in a photo finish to Joey Logano, and then we went to Talladega and recorded that. He won in a photo finish over Logano, and then we actually had to scrap that because I accidentally deleted it, so he's still winless, but we've seen some serious speed out of Ryan Blaney this season. Jay is 32 points above the cut line, and right now he's doing everything he needs to do to just increase that gap and potentially get a win today.
He's looked really good this season, and I don't think that's going to change at all. Penske overall has been has looked really good. They haven't got the finishes they've wanted, kind of like as you can see there with Keselowski running in second place, but outside of the playoffs currently. So Penske overall is running well, and I think Blaney's probably running the best out of the three. As Denny Hamlin is in the wall pretty heavily there. Hopefully that's not too much damage to his right side, and he's in it again. That's not going to be good for Denny Hamlin.
He just made a pass on Kurt Busch to move up into fourth, and then he hit that wall there, and it was actually looking like he was about to put some pressure on Kyle Larson. But I think the right side to me looks okay, as he's right there on the back of Kurt Busch, but I think overall he's going to be okay now, as you see Elliott side by side with Kyle Busch right now through the center of turns 1 and 2. But I guess we're going to see that throughout this race, guys getting in the wall. And I mean, what do you think, Jay? The older the tires get, I think they're going to be a little bit more prone to hitting that wall more often later in the runs.
Yeah, especially when they're going at each other, kind of like Hamlin and Kurt were right there, and they're going too wide and stuff. And you go into the corner, especially on the high side, thinking you have the grip to stay close to that wall, and then you just wind up overdriving your car a bit, and you probably step out and hit the wall a bit. So certainly older tires are going to have a factor in that, but I also think these guys are just going to try and be really aggressive getting around each other, and that's probably going to lead to hitting the wall more so than the tires will.
We do expect pit stops coming very soon here in Darlington now, as you see down towards the kind of middle of the pack, down towards the back half of the top 40. Everybody going at it right here. Suarez actually under pressure from Ryan Preece on the outside there. But these guys just can't get away from each other. Currently, Bubba Wallace running down here in 22nd place behind Austin Dillon. Now is actually, we got the number 20. We got everybody actually up towards the front coming into the pit lane. Here comes Ryan Blaney right now. You see the 78 of BJ McLeod on the pit lane. But now we're going to see how this cycles out. I think it's an obvious call. 4 tires and field. It should be a very easy call to make for these teams. As you see a good quarter of the field at least coming into the pit lane right there. I mean, Jay, we know how important tires are here at Darlington. I mean, do you come in early, or do you stay out and maybe let these guys kind of be grouped up together, maybe have a slower entrance and then try to come in by yourself maybe a few laps later?
With only 10 laps still left to go in the stage, I think you come in as early as you can. If I'm one of these drivers, I honestly split this stage to try and get that much to get that time there, because how much tires matter here at Darlington is looks like Kyle Larson might have had a pretty slow stop. But I'm not really sure if I would stay out here very long. I don't really know why you wouldn't pit directly with the leaders here. But if anybody's going to try and stretch it out long, I think that's going to wind up being a mistake for whoever does that.
You saw the next batch of drivers coming in there, like Keselowski, Logano, the other group in that top 10. So the big thing to watch right here is Ryan Blaney. Is he going to cycle out through the lead? I would assume yes. He actually increased his lead quite significantly right there as he goes down this front straightaway. Now 10 laps to go here in stage 1. And there you see Kyle Busch and Logano coming out right there. And Blaney's just going to drive right on by and blow the doors off of all of them. So out of turns 2. Chase Elliott is going to move up into second place here, and Almirola is going to follow through into P3. So clearly, waiting a few laps or so did not work. But where's Denny Hamlin? That's the big question. I don't see him anywhere right now. I believe he is still out on the track, potentially just coming into the pit lane right now, based off of the scoring. Yes, they are actually just made their pit stop. They are coming out on the track. Well, there goes Ryan Blaney now. So clearly, not a great idea to stay out. Even 2 laps of Hamlin staying out, you see the difference right there. He was now going to be down probably in like 8th, 9th, maybe even 10th place, as Kyle Busch's teammate as well is going to get by him. So Matt, I think that kind of sets the standard right there that waiting a couple extra laps is not going to work whatsoever here tonight.
We'll see. I don't want to write it off yet because the 3 laps extra, fresher tires here can mean so much. You know, you might just be able to blow by everyone he lost ground to. So
he could.
We'll see.
I mean, I guess in the third and final stage it might play more of a factor. But we have seen it's kind of hard to pass as well. So, I mean, if he can get to the outside of these guys, he might be able to make it work now as we come through back to putting the eyes on Ryan Blaney, who now has the biggest lead we have seen all race. Actually, it got closed up now less than a second. So that 9 car is closing on Ryan Blaney, so we'll have to keep an eye on that before this stage comes to an end there. As you see, Larson, Logano, Kurt Busch, Keselowski all there together. Kyle Busch, Tyler Reddick, and Denny Hamlin round out your top 10. Reddick made up a good chunk of ground right there under that pit cycle. Kevin Harvick, probably the biggest loser out of that, now outside of the top 10 behind Truex in that 12th position here as we close in towards the final moments of stage 1. Larson up the inside of Logano as we go down into turns 1. Keselowski leading this little group right here. Jay, we've seen a very fascinating season from Keselowski. He really hasn't been able to stay out of trouble. Currently 20 points below the cut line, but having a really good run here in stage 1, and this is only going to help him because right now he's beating the guys he needs to beat if he wants to get into the playoffs.
I believe Brad just ran pretty well. He's had some decent stage finishes. He's looked competitive in several races this year. I just don't believe that he's been able. Bless you. I don't believe he's been able to get the finishes he's looking for, and I mean, obviously that shows with the points position he's in right now. But if he's able to stay where he's at there in 4th place, get some good stage points, and then stay there all race long and finish inside that top 5, that's going to boost him a lot. And we might see him be pretty close to the cutoff line, if not inside the playoffs. I can't remember how many he's out, but if not inside the playoffs by the time this race is over with.
Now, what do you make of this little situation right here? I mean, is Blaney maybe as fast as we originally thought, or was he just able to command the field? Because we saw the 9 car, I mean, just run him down from over a second back in about 3 laps.
Certainly looks to me like he was just able to command the field. The 10 car and the 9 car ran him down so quickly there, and it's not like they had a tire advantage. They all pitted at the same time. So I'm thinking that he was just able to command the field, and we may not be able to see Chase get by him here. He looks like he's certainly faster, but it just may be too hard to pass. So I think that has a lot to do with it. It's just not being able to pass here.
And we've talked about Daniel Suarez's kind of weird luck this season where he's had issues mechanically and whatnot with his car. I'm not sure what happened there, but he was running just barely outside of the top 20. After the pit cycle, he is now the last car running on the track right there in P39. So not sure what happened to that Trackhouse Racing team, but very unfortunate for them. It's going to be tough for them to make that up. Currently, they are inside the playoffs, but only by 12 points right now as we come through to the final 3 laps of stage 1 now. I mean, there's not a whole lot Chase Elliott can do, I think, here. I mean, if Ryan Blaney does this right here, if he covers the outside, Jay, I don't think there's really any opportunity for Elliott to get past.
Yeah, unless he full sends, which I'm not sure we're going to see Chase Elliott do until maybe the last lap, and even then, I don't know if we'll see him do it. But unless he full sends on the inside and tries some kind of slide job or something, I don't think we're going to see him get past either. I don't think Blaney is necessarily slow. I think he has good enough pace to be towards the front, and that's probably the only thing that's keeping him out front right now is hard to pass and him having good enough pace to keep to where he's not put in a situation where Chase can just blow right on by him.
Kozlowski really close to that wall right there. Gets passed by Kurt Busch up ahead. Elliott was kind of defensive right there over Almirola, was putting a little bit of pressure on him. So Blaney now coming through to take the white flag here in stage one. We'll get that command up in just a second to bring out the caution. But at the white flag in stage one, Ryan Blaney leads the way now as we will get ready to put out the yellow right there, and they will race it back one more time to decide the stage one victory. Elliott close there on the exit of turn two. He's only going to get one opportunity here, and he's going to have to make a move right now if he wants anything, but it doesn't even look like he's going to attempt to make a pass on that 12 of Blaney through turns 3 and 4 for the final time. He's there, but not going to make it happen, as Ryan Blaney out of turns 4 will come through to win stage one. As Elliott takes a look there, of course, not enough right now. So Blaney, Elliott, Almirola, Kurt Busch, Kozlowski, your top 5, and rounding up the top 10 is Tyler Reddick there, as Hamlin was able to get past him using those fresh tires, as Harvick and Truex are the first guys on the outside of that top 10 there. So some big points for some guys like Ryan Blaney increasing his gap. But this pit stop right here is really where we're going to have to take a look at now. I mean, I think if Blaney loses the lead right here, I mean, we could probably see him fall down the order quite a bit. I don't think he's as fast as we originally thought now. I mean, what do you do here? I think it's obvious call, Matt. 4 tires probably once again.
Yeah. If you're not taking 4 tires on every stop tonight, you're probably going to get fired.
So the crew chief's jobs are at risk tonight here in Darlington. But I'm sure someone will try a 2-tire stop or something. And it looks like everybody is coming into the pit lane, thank goodness now. As we've seen sometimes at the end of these stages, someone stale. But sure enough, you can see every single car on the pit lane here. So we're going to keep an eye on Ryan Blaney, who wins stage one, pretty much led every lap after he took the lead early on from the pole sitter of Brad Keselowski. Now as there goes the left sides on that 12 car. So here we go now. What's going to happen here? Blaney easily going to win the race, but here you got Almirola getting P2. And then Kurt Busch, Logano, Kyle Larson with a bit of a slow stop. A very slow stop, actually, for Kyle Larson, but even worse for Brad Keselowski there. So not good for those two drivers. Definitely the biggest losers here on the pit lane at the end of stage one. But before we get going for stage two, we're going to go for a very quick break and come back at you to bring you to lap number 91 to decide stage 2 here in the Goodyear 400 at Darlington Raceway. Welcome back here from the Goodyear 400 at Darlington Raceway, getting ready to go green right here in a few moments time for the start of stage 2. We were just mentioning before we came back, Jay, we've seen this trend here lately, probably for the last month or so, where stage 1 very, very calm, and then stage 2 absolute chaos breaks loose. So I mean, could we expect that potentially here at Darlington, or maybe we're in for a different situation? Maybe it'll stay clean once again here in stage 2.
I say we could expect that here at Darlington. With the way this track is, with the way these guys are being aggressive, and they're going to want to try and get past Blaney here, and I'm sure there's others in the field that have been holding drivers up as well. I think we can expect the same pattern to happen this week as well.
A really good launch off the restart, actually, for the 12 of Blaney, as Almirola currently runs in that second position. So Almirola backing up his surprise win. I mean, both of his wins this season have actually been surprise wins. In Las Vegas, it had to have the best cars of the field get wiped out for him to win there. And last week, he just was able to pounce on Denny Hamlin, getting stuck behind Kurt Busch to win that race there as well. So right now, you see Kurt Busch side by side with Joey Logano. A clean first lap at least, and Logano really didn't force the issue too much there. Kurt gets by on the inside. We usually see the outside prevail right there as they come through out of turns 2. In the background, I see the 16 having a bit of a moment. We're 3 wide here in Darlington. We haven't really seen that very often now, as they do get settled out though down towards turn 3. I thought we were about to see the first bit of chaos kick off right there, but fortunately they all get it sorted out in the midfield as they come through out of turns 4. Now, as you see, both the 17 and the 14 quite a ways down the order, actually, so they got a lot of ground to make up. Another guy that's got a lot of ground to make up is Daniel Suarez in that 99 Trackhouse car, but currently runs in front of the 43 of Eric Jones, who's all the way down currently in 37th place. So some issues there for him, as Almirola is now up into that second position here in front of Chase Elliott, and he is putting a ton of pressure on the back of Ryan Blaney right now as we speak here. But you see Kevin Harvick side by side with Cole Custer down this front straightaway. He is inside of the top 10. And so, of course, is Custer for a brief moment. But, Jay, I mean, we've seen Custer win this season already at Homestead Miami Speedway. Currently, he comes into this race with 246 points. He would actually be way out of the playoffs without that victory. So we really haven't seen any legitimate speed out of that team whatsoever.
Yeah, he looked decent at Homestead. Obviously, got the win there, and then ever since then, he hasn't really been much of a factor. He's just been kind of in the race. I don't know if he's gotten really any top 10 since then. Points wise, he doesn't seem like he's had any top 10. So he's certainly been struggling a lot ever since he got that win. He's one team that's probably struggled the most of the playoff drivers right now. So he's not looking very good going into the playoffs, and certainly to me, at this moment, looking kind of like a wasted spot.
I mean, you could kind of make a case as well. Chastain, a bit of a wasted spot, too, from Talladega with that victory. So right now, I mean, 2 playoff spots have been taken up from drivers that were likely not going to make it on points based off of their current performance now. So that means that the 2 guys that would be in on points would be Christopher Bell as well as Brad Keselowski now. And I mean, there's no way that the 42 or the 41 are going to drop below the top 30. So they're definitely going to make it into the playoffs here this season. As you see this top 6 group of cars still going at it. Blaney, though, continuing to command the field with no issues, is now Logano, who kind of let Kurt Busch just cruise on by at the beginning of stage 2. Well, now Logano goes by Kurt in the same corner with the same move on the inside right there. As we got the Busch brothers running bumper to bumper through turns 3 and turns 4. Matt, I mean, I've never really looked at Joey Logano to be much of a contender at Darlington. I don't know if it's just he just does not enjoy the track, but he's never really been up there in the mix for a win here. So do you expect him to be able to pull anything off here tonight, currently running P4?
I'm not too sure. Typically, I think Penske struggles here mostly in the long run. These high abrasive tracks, I generally just feel like Penske struggles, but obviously they haven't really struggled today with Blaney leading every lap so far, and Logano closing in on the top 3 here. So I don't know, to be honest.
And hasn't that been like a common occurrence for the Penske drivers? I think I've talked about, or I've heard them talk about before, like their long run speed, they really seem to struggle with.
Yeah. I don't know why they struggle so much with it.
And then, of course, we got Stewart Haas Racing, completely different situation in our 2021 NR series compared to what they're dealing with in real life right now. In real life, they are hanging on for dear life and really relying on Kevin Harvick. Right now, they've had 3 drivers win here in this season, just now needing Chase Briscoe to pick up a victory. And speaking of Chase Briscoe, we've seen some decent performances out of him lately, but still hasn't really been able to do a whole lot now. He's got some side-by-side action here, though. Just below the top 10, Kyle Larson passes that 41 of Cole Custer, but right now everybody's still keeping it pretty clean right now, as you see DiBenedetto running in that 12th position. Jay, we've seen some another interesting season for Matt DiBenedetto and what is a career season for him, or a career on the line season for him. And we've heard some rumors come out that from Larry McReynolds himself that Penske might have an option for him next year. So when you hear him say that, what do you think that option could potentially be with Penske and DiBenedetto for 2022?
First thing I immediately think of is obviously a 4th car opening up. We've seen Penske run 4 cars before. They've had a lot of success as of late running 3 cars. They have young Ryan Blaney, who is obviously starting to become one of the better drivers in the sport. He needs to stop choking everything away. But he is certainly become one of the top talents in the sport. Brad Keselowski, who over the last several years has been one of the better drivers in the sport. He's obviously on his way out now, in my opinion. And then obviously Joey Logano as well, who has been over the last 10 years or so been one of the top drivers. So Penske has gotten themselves solidly 3 good teams, three good drivers who can win week in and week out, and they're probably looking to add a fourth, and it would not surprise me at all if they wind up doing that with the Benedetto.
Now, Matt, before we dive into it a little bit more, do you agree with Jay? Do you think it's maybe a fourth car type thing that is the option, or maybe do you see them maybe having him replace a guy like Brad Keselowski or something?
I think actually what it is, if something does happen where Matty D stays with the Penske organization, it's actually Cindric getting a fourth car at Penske and Matty D staying put into the 21. As he makes it, wow, that was
that was an aggressive move right there from DiBenedetto. Makes it work. He's closing in now towards the top 10. That puts him up to P12. But nice move right there. He must know that we're listening right now as we come through out of turn 2. But yeah, I mean, I guess that could be a thing. But I mean, they've already signed Cindric to the 21 car, haven't they? For next year? Or did they just kind of say that's what's going to happen?
But like, I'm sure there are ways to manipulate things because technically it's basically a Penske car, right?
Yes, pretty much. I mean, Jay, what do you think about that?
I believe
could that happen?
Well, I believe as well that the Benedetto's already kind of hinted at and maybe let the cat out of the bag that something like that is happening because we've seen him talk about the next gen Mustang a couple of times. Yeah, he said he can't wait to drive it. He loves the look of the car. He's excited for it. So he said a couple of different things is basically pointed at him driving a next gen Mustang next year. And everything to me points at him somehow staying with Penske, whether it be like Karma said, where Penske opens a fourth car for Cindric and then he stays in the 21, or a fourth car for DiBenedetto, or maybe they even give the funding to Wood Brothers to open up a second team there. I don't know. But I have to think that something along the lines of him staying with Penske is going to happen.
Of course, we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully, we'll hear something within the coming weeks or months on that situation with DiBenedetto. I would love to see him stay at least with the 21 or get into a fourth Penske car or something like that. So, like I said, we'll have to wait and see. I think, honestly, I could see the fourth Penske car going to like a Cindric and keeping DiBenedetto in the 21 type deal as actually Almirola trying to put some pressure here on the back of Ryan Blaney, but now Elliott's right on the back of Almirola as they sail it off into turns 1. So they are right on him. We know pit stops will be coming relatively soon now, and we know how important those are going to be. We saw Kyle Larson on both pit stops today so far lose a lot of time. Denny Hamlin lost quite a bit of time, staying out a little bit too long, and right now they are both quite a ways back here, disconnected. Right there, you see them running bumper to bumper in P9 and P10. That's been the story of Kyle Larson's season, as we know, Jay, having tremendous speed in that Hendrick Motorsports car, and there's always something getting him put back down the order or something and just losing an opportunity at winning a race.
Yeah, and I think that up until this point, it hasn't really been the picker. I think he's always had decent pit stops, and he's never really lost a lot of spots. But so far already today, just in the 2 pit stops in stage 1, he's lost, I think, 8 spots or so on pit road. And that here at Darlington is just unacceptable. You can't make those spots back up easy. It's hard to pass here. This track is rough on tires, so you obviously lose a lot of that grip. So it's hard to pass that way too. So you know it's not a good track to lose positions on pit road. And I'm sure the pit crew is going to do better the rest of this race. And if they don't, Larson is going to suffer a lot for the rest of this race.
We'll have to keep an eye on that number 5 car driven by Kyle Larson for Hendrick Motorsports as Elliott is unable to complete the pass there on the 10 of Eric Almirola. So now considering the situation of lap traffic, by the way, lap 69 nice currently here in the Goodyear 400 as Cody Ware is going to be the first car they will meet if they do get to him. He's going right down into turns 3 right now as they are coming through turns 1 and out of turns 2. So I don't know if they're going to get there. We'll have to wait and see. We got just barely over 20 laps to go here in this second stage as Almirola continues to try and find a way there, but he is just not able to pass that 12. And honestly, I think, Jay, we see the 12 commanding so easily. He definitely doesn't seem to have the fastest car, but I think the only way that these guys could maybe get him now is try and maybe short pit a lap earlier and kind of catch him off guard.
Yeah, I think they're really gonna have to play some kind of strategy here. These teams need to see what's happening right now and realize that Blaney really is a lot slower than a lot of these cars behind. I mean, he's basically freight training the field right now for the first, what is that, 7 spots or so, 6 spots. So he's really, actually no more than that. Yeah, the first 8 spots. So he's really training the field at the moment, and with how hard it is to pass here, yeah, I agree with you. I think they're going to have to pull some kind of pit stop here, or even if they do pit with him at the same time. Hope his hope his pit crew has a mistake, or at the end of stage 2, uh, try to beat him on the final lap, or again on pit road, try and have a faster stop than him. So they're gonna have to find some way to get around him, and I don't think it's going to be passing him on the track, aside from maybe the first lap or 2 of a restart.
Chase Elliott finally clear of the 10 2x2 right now as they sail it off into turns 1, but now Almirola kind of under fire here. Elliott gets past him, and now he's got to deal with Joey Logano. He'll probably have to run out the corner and stay up his outside as we exit turn 2. Sure enough, he does, but if Logano can stay at his left side into turns 3 like that right there, Logano might be able to clear the 10 of Almirola, who doesn't get the greatest run there, so they are going to continue side by side down this front straightaways. Logano, we've been slowly but surely seeing him move his way towards the front now as he continues to try and complete this pass. It's going to be crucial right here to make it happen. He is potentially clear right there. Yes, he is, but Almirola gets a great run right there, and he's actually going to blow right on by the 22 of Joey Logano and maintain P3, at least, is Elliott already right to the back of the 12 of Ryan Blaney. Pit stop's got to be coming very shortly here in the Goodyear 400 as Chase Elliott, another guy, Jay, we've been watching, he threw away a win at Martinsville at the paperclip when he got stuck behind a lap car, opened the door for Kyle Larson to get past him, but the most recent Cup Series champion, of course, the defending champion here of the Cup Series, definitely hasn't had, I guess, the defending season that we expect from a driver of his caliber just coming off of his first championship.
He's the person who I think has had his real life performance transfer the most over into this game. He's kind of had lackluster performance here and in real life. He's been in contention a couple times, and then he winds up getting wrecked, or he just does not finish like he looks like he should. So he's kind of had a mediocre year both in real life and on NR so far. And I don't see any signs of that changing so far. He's looked a little bit more competitive as of recent. But and actually no, I should take that back. He seems like to me he probably does have one of the better cars, if not the best car today. He's just unfortunately stuck behind Ryan Blaney, and it seems like there's nothing he can do right now.
Actually, I was just comparing on the NASCAR mobile app. So since we follow it every week, coming into this week in real life, Elliott has 349 points, and in our NR2003 series coming into this race, Elliott actually has 326 points. So only a 23-point difference right there based off of NR2003 to real life. So yeah, I mean, I definitely think his IRL performance has been replicated fairly well here. Now is actually Eric Almirola trying to put some pressure again on the back of the 9. As I think if these guys can't get past Ryan Blaney, this could be a common occurrence where second place, he's going to get to the leader, but then he's just going to kind of stall out there and then become under pressure from third place on back. As Kevin Harvick all of a sudden has found himself into the top 5. Another guy, Matt, I mean, we saw Harvick last week have a decent race, but you obviously haven't been here for the majority of the season. He won the first 2 races, the Daytona 500, shocked everybody, went and won at the Daytona Road Course, and after that, it's just been a disastrous season for him. As actually, hold up, that thought Logano in the outside wall. There's some damage there on that 22 as well. You can see that right side caved in. I mean, Matt, I was asking earlier, is Logano going to be a threat? I think that just answered our question.
Yeah, I don't think so anymore.
It shouldn't be too catastrophic, as now Harvick has driven past the 10 of Eric Almirola. All of a sudden, he goes from 5th to 4th, now to P3 here in Darlington. Now, as Cody Ware comes into the pit lane, by the way. But all of a sudden, Matt, Kevin Harvick might be the one to watch here tonight.
Yeah, he's kind of came out of... Where did he come from?
The closer.
Yeah, the closer. It's about 80 laps too early for the closer, but here he is.
And now it looks like he might put some pressure on Elliott. Ryan Blaney looks like he's going to be the first one pitting. And Jay, I think it's silly if these guys stay out right here.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit silly, but at the same time, they're now out from behind Ryan Blaney. So who knows? Maybe their pace all of a sudden picks up to where they run a decent enough lap or two here to where they don't lose too much time compared to Blaney. I mean, tire fall off no matter what is going to have a big effect here, no matter if they run faster than they were when they were behind him or not. So if they don't pit right here, that's a huge mistake for Chase Elliott, Kevin Harvick, and anybody else who doesn't pit. In my opinion, they should have already pitted and try and got themselves on fresher tires before Ryan Blaney could.
Elliott stays out, and everybody's behind him's coming in, except for Martin Truex Jr. I mean, if a caution comes out right now for them, that's great. I see a bunch of damage on the 7 car there, but Ryan Blaney is right now putting the left sides on. So it's going to get interesting here. He is now coming out of the pit box. No pressure from Eric Almirola, so he is in good shape. Elliott right here is going to come in this time by. So he stays out 2 more laps than Ryan Blaney. Keep in mind, he was second place right on the back of Ryan Blaney when Blaney came in to make his pit stop. So we're going to get a good idea of how it's going to change up right here. Still fastest laps of the day is actually Ryan Blaney, but he's just been the one that's out in front of holding up everybody now, as we're going to see where Blaney ends up cycling out. Kevin Harvick just now coming out, as we're going to get an eye on that number 12 car driven by Ryan Blaney here, as we're going to see where he cycles out. He probably is going to end up being back out front as he sails it off into turns 1. Keep in mind, less than 10 laps to go here in the stage now. As sure enough, out of turns 2, Harvick exiting the corner isn't terribly far off, but he is going to actually cycle through to the lead anyways, and Almirola as well going to go by now. So Harvick still will likely hold on to that 3rd position now, as we got Chase Elliott, who's just putting the left sides on right now, and Ryan Blaney should be coming out or coming by any moment. There he goes now into turns 1. So Elliott not in great shape there, as you see Ryan Blaney going to go by here on the outside. So Elliott goes from 2nd place down to 3rd, 4th, potentially 5th. But Jay, look at this. Kyle Larson has had one heck of a comeback, I believe, now, as he is all of a sudden 4th place potentially.
Looks like his pit crew did exactly what I said. They needed to perform better, and it certainly seems like that's what happened. I think he was one of the first cars to pit as well. I think he might have pitted on the same lap as Blaney, which a lot of people waited a lap later to pit, so that probably also gave him the advantage. But his pit crew looks like they finally had a good stop. Took him 3 tries, but at least they got it done now, and he can get some stage points. It won't be the stage win, but he'll at least get some stage points and carry on into the 3rd stage and be in a decent spot for the start of the 3rd stage.
Here's a sight that Kurt Busch really doesn't want to see right here. He's got to deal with 2 slow cars of Anthony Alfredo, as well as the 51 of Cody Ware's. Alfredo's actually, as I say, he's slow. He's about to make a pass on Chase Elliott here as they go up into turns 1. Elliott goes from 2nd before the pit stops down to P5. Larson with just a massive gain. I have no idea how Larson pulled that off now. Even if he, probably took 4 tires. But, a great job by that pit crew as Kyle Busch, Tyler Reddick, Matt DiBenedetto, Logano now round out the top 10. And actually another guy, look at this, Bubba Wallace now up into P11. You see the 22, they've got that right side fixed up. They gave up some time there to fix that car. Hamlin has dropped down the order quite a bit. Keselowski there, Truex. Then we got Cole Custer, Alex Bowman, and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. having another consistent run inside of the top 20 here, as we have just 5 laps to go in this in the second stage here in Darlington. But now Harvick to the inside potentially here out of turns 4 in the Goodyear 400. We've seen Harvick win this race, I believe. What was it most recently? 2020 maybe. I think he won last year.
Yeah, May last year.
No, you won. Then you won the Southern 500.
Did he win the Southern 500?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
I know he won last May.
He won 2 of the last 3 Darlington races.
All right, there you have it. So here he is now trying to put the pressure on Almirola. So we come through out of turn 4. It's going to be just 3 laps to go in stage 1, but still, once again, Ryan Blaney just continuing to be in command here now, as this pit stop at the end of this stage here in a few laps time is going to be crucial in deciding Ryan Blaney's fate of this race potentially here now, as Harvick tries to put the pressure on. You see a slow car up ahead. That is the 7 of Corey LaJoie into turn 3. So they might have to deal with him before the stage comes to an end. And honestly, Jay, you look at that. That could be an opportunity right here if they do get to him. Almirola or Harvick could use him as a pick to maybe find a way ahead of Blaney with 2 laps to go on the stage.
I think that Almirola or Harvick really need to try and make that happen. I don't know if Blaney's going to wind up sitting behind LaJoy here, but it's almost guaranteed to me that that's probably going to happen with how, once again, the AI work. And Corey LaJoy will probably wind up sitting in front of Ryan Blaney. So Almirola, at the very least, needs to find a way to immediately get to his inside or outside, whichever lane he winds up being stuck in, and use this as his opportunity to get around Ryan Blaney.
White flag in the air for stage 2. Will they actually get to LaJoy? I think they will down the back straightaway. We're going to put out the command right now to end stage 2 this time by, as I think Blaney might get there out of turns 2. He might actually not be close enough. It's going to be tough here. And you see in the distance, Kyle Larson's just been slowly but surely working his way towards these guys now as they come through 3 and 4. He's going to get there, but I don't think Almirola maybe has a look, but it's not going to be enough to hold Blaney up out of turns 2, or out of turns 4, sorry. Ryan Blaney wins stage 1 and comes through to sweep the second stage now as Almirola, Harvick, your top 3, Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Kurt Busch, then Kyle Busch, Tyler Reddick, Matt DiBenedetto, and Joey Logano round out the top 10 as Bubba Wallace had a very nice stage 2 getting up into P11 there. Daniel Suarez, and driver I wanted to mention, he actually has been working his way through the field only up to P33, but look at the left side of Martin Truex Jr.'s car. Heavy damage on the side of that 19. We'll get a look actually before we go green here in stage 3. I'm just quickly looking. I don't really see anybody with a lot of right side damage, but we'll get a look at what happened to the 19 of Truex here. He's going to have to fix that car up. It has not been a good night for Truex. We've seen him on the outside of the top 10 in both stages. Jay, we see Truex on the playoff grid, 41 points below the grid, and unlike his teammate Kyle Busch, who's picking up points and getting himself closer to that cut line, Truex has done absolutely nothing tonight, points-wise.
Yeah, you say it's been a bad night for Truex. It's been a bad season for Truex. He just has not looked like the Martin Truex that we expect him to look like, and he's had a struggle. He's had a struggle year all year, or had a struggling time all year. And once again, so far tonight, he doesn't look like he has that great of a car, and he's not performing that great. As Ryan Blaney's going to lose the lead out here on pit road.
That's a bad pace. How many people beat? Or these 2 tire stops?
I'm not sure. We're gonna get a confirmation on that here in a few moments' time. But because Harvick, Almirola, Elliott, Reddick, DiBenedetto, Kyle Busch all beat Blaney off of the pit lane. I think Kyle Busch might have taken 4, but I'm pretty sure quite a few of these guys just took 2 tires. Now is Harvick. Is he about to pit again? No, he's staying out. Okay, so
there could have been some strategy involved, but another person I noticed that lost spots as well was Kyle Larson. Once again,
yes.
Having a little bit of a rough time on pit road, but I think once again there was some strategy involved there that we'll get a look at in a moment and determine.
We're going to get a quick look at the reasoning for Martin Truex Jr.'s damage on his car, and then we're going to confirm there if that was 2 tires that put these guys up front. And keep in mind, Truex, with that damage, is quite a ways. Get a good look at that 38 while you're at it. But Truex is quite a ways down the field now, and he is actually all the way back there. So he's got a lot of work to do here in stage 3 if he wants to rebound. But we are now going to go and very quick get a look at what got Truex in that position in the first place, as he currently runs P33 now at the end of stage 2. Martin Truex Jr. picked up that left side damage right here as Chris Buescher is coming out of the pit lane into the side of him. Damages the left side of that car. Speaking of Chris Buescher, hasn't had the greatest night. We'll see if he can rebound here in stage 3. But now let's get a look to see why Ryan Blaney lost so many positions there on the pit lane.
So indeed, everybody in front of Ryan Blaney got 2 tires, and that is how they beat him off of pit road. Whether that works on the long run, I have no idea. There was only 10 laps on these tires, but 10 laps at Darlington might as well be 20 or so laps. I think Bubba Wallace also got 2, and there may have been a couple more behind Ryan Blaney as well. So some pit strategy happening here, and in the long run, let's see if it pays off.
I think that we might have probably seen that coming, Jay, because we knew these guys had no chance to get past Blaney in the line he was running. He was being very defensive, doing what he needed to do. So honestly, this might have been their only chance. And I mean, now with a bunch of cars doing it, I think that Blaney, I don't know if he can come back from that.
Yeah, I agree here. I think that with a lot of cars doing it, it certainly does help. And I mean, I can't really blame them for trying. I mean, like you mentioned there, Blaney was certainly holding some of these cars up. The thing is Darlington eats these tires up so quickly that even with 7 or so of these guys doing the 2-tire strategy, I don't know if it's going to be enough to hold off guys like Blaney and Larson and whoever else took 4 tires. I mean, just on the long run, I think they're going to get eaten up so quickly. And they also might be at a fuel disadvantage as well here.
Another thing to keep in mind as we were going green this time by to start the third and final stage is for the first time all race long, we are going to have 2 slower lap cars on the inside. So Jay stage 2 once again was calm, but now, I mean, we haven't had this all night. So this is going to be the first time we've seen this. This is going to be the opportunity right here for chaos to really kick off if it's going to happen.
With the differing tire strategies and the slow cars in the way, I agree with you. Stage 2 was calm. We may not see that here. Now we're going to have Ryan Blaney desperately trying to get by the guys in front of him with slower tires. We're going to have lap cars in the way. It's going to be a longer stage, so we might catch more lap cars towards the end of this if it stays green. And again, pit strategy is going to be, I think, the big factor here with these guys only having 2 tires.
We saw Blaney get off to a really good launch at the start of stage 2. We're going to look to see if Harvick can pull that off as well now, as he does get a pretty solid launch, but nowhere near as good as Blaney was at the beginning of that last stage. So they're side by side off into turns 1 here. It's going to be very crucial for Harvick to get clear of that 38 of Alfredo, even if he still is just a lap down, but not a lot of room there between the two as they come through out of turns 2, but fortunately nobody into the outside wall now as they keep it pretty clean. Watch out for Ryan Blaney, who's going to have to be on the move, the first car on 4 fresh tires, but they actually get it sorted out here, single file. Now Harvick has a car in between him and the next car for position now is Blaney. I saw him hanging it out all the way to the outside, trying to make a move there. Logano side by side with Bubba Wallace, Larson side by side with Denny Hamlin, but already Ryan Blaney on the move now. Are those 4 fresh tires really going to come in handy here on the short run? Is it going to be the long run that we're looking at for that 12 of Blaney?
It could be an advantage in the long run. With these tires only being 10 laps old, for some of these lead lap cars, it may not be that big of an advantage, which it certainly looks like it is at the moment, as Larson is already flying through the field and up to Blaney as well. But on the long run, I think is definitely where it's going to come in. You know, you're going to wind up having 10 lap older tires on your left sides, and then you're going to have the same amount of wear on your right side tires compared to Blaney. And that extra 10 laps on the long run is going to be huge. I think it's going to lead to these guys having to pit sooner than Blaney. And if they have to pit sooner than Blaney, it's highly possible that winds up putting them at an extra pit stop compared to Larson, Blaney, and the others who took 4 tires. So right now it may not be that big of an advantage for Blaney, which it certainly looks like it is. But as we get later in this run, I think he's going to blow these guys away.
Yeah, Blaney up to now 4th, maybe passing Chase Elliott for P3 is Kyle Larson. He's trying to get up there as well. Elliott stuck behind Alfredo right now, but now Blaney's already trying to put pressure on second place of Eric Almirola. So I didn't see this coming. I thought he was going to be stuck behind these guys, but here he is blowing their doors off, and now up the inside of Eric Almirola as we exit turns 4. Jay, if this guy gets to the lead, we haven't looked at him as his fastest car, but now with this advantage, he might be just long gone.
I was going to mention there before he started going after Almirola, I was going to say that maybe the reason why he was able to get up through here so quickly is because of the 38 and the 51 holding a lot of these guys up. But Almirola wasn't getting held up there, and Blaney still blew right by him. So I think that, you know, once again, truly, it's just a 4-tire advantage here. And like you mentioned there a second ago, I think now we're going to see Blaney be the fastest car on the track. He might get the only time that this may come into an advantage for these guys that took 2 tires is when if they pit earlier than Blaney, they'll be on 4 tires quicker than Blaney will, so they'll get that time advantage. And then if they get a quick caution after that, then that is going to be when they're at an advantage. But for now, they're going to be disadvantaged.
So Blaney back to the lead here in the Goodyear 400. Harvick settles in second place. So the next guy that you want to watch on tires is Kyle Larson, who takes a look under Alfredo right now as he tries to move his way throughout the field. So Ryan Blaney back out front with now 66 laps to go here at Darlington Raceway. Kyle Busch running in 9th place, having a good run. He's just hoping it stays like this to the end. He would gladly take a P9 finish, I'm sure, at this point. As Bubba Wallace rounds out the top 10, a good run for that team. Alex Bowman's been getting closer and closer to the top 10 here tonight, but it's been the story of his season where he's just been playing catch-up all race long. Jay, we've seen it time and time after each and every single race where Bowman just continues to have poor starts to these races, and it really takes him a long time to get anywhere. And by the time he starts to get anywhere, the race is already ending.
I think this might be the one time where Bowman is able to take advantage of something. I would have to think that his team went with 4 tires there, and if they indeed did, he's already caught up to a lot of the guys who took 2 tires, so he could gain some pretty easy spots here, and get himself inside the top 10. And if he's able to stay there, that's going to finally be the top 10 top 10 run that he needs.
And you see those 4 tires really coming in there. Larson just through the center of the corner just drives right on by the 9, and now already trying to get to the inside of the 10 of Eric Almirola. Probably won't have anything right here. Probably have to wait till next lap to make anything happen. But clearly a good call by that Hendrick team for the number 5, as Blaney almost out by a full second already here as he sails it off into turns 3 and 4. No lap traffic that he's going to have to worry about now, as you see Martin Truex Jr. behind that 53 of J.J. Yaley. Truex still has a little bit of damage there on the left, but Ryan Blaney now, we're going to see the gap opens up even more as Kyle Larson now passes Almirola to the inside of Harvick, and now their top 2 drivers are the first 2 drivers that started this third and final stage with 4 fresh tires compared to 2. So great call.
I'm going to be interested to watch here and see if Larson can run down Blaney, and if he indeed can, then that'll still show me that Blaney is struggling on pace, and Larson could maybe make something happen here. I don't know if he will, but it's possible.
When they cross the line right here, it is 0.8 of a second between the 12 and Kyle Larson in that 5. I believe we have Matt back. Do we have Matt?
Yeah.
Welcome back. As you can see, the 12 has taken the lead.
Yes. A lot of crew chiefs just got fired in my book.
You got to at least credit them for trying, right?
No.
I don't know. I just, with 10 laps here at Darlington, that's too many laps on your tires. 2 laps here at Darlington is almost too many laps on your tires.
Larson just closed half the gap.
Yeah, so I don't think that this was a great call by those crew chiefs, in my opinion.
So now, what's the situation going to be? Is Larson going to get stuck here, or maybe he got enough in this car where he's just going to drive by the 12, as he is already there? It took him a lap and 3/4 after getting past the 4 pretty much to get to the back of Ryan Blaney. Now Elliott trying to work on the 10 of Almirola. Kurt Busch just in the distance there, but we're going to have to wait and see what Larson can do. He's on the back bumper, but we've seen this time and time again throughout this race where second place gets to Blaney, can't do anything after that point. So I think if anyone can do it, it's that Kyle Larson in that 5 car now, as Harvick runs P3 in the distance, but they are so far back.
Sorry, Gary, I didn't mean to interrupt. I think that everybody behind Ryan Blaney and Kyle Larson right now who's on those 2 tires are probably hoping and praying that Larson does not get around Ryan Blaney, because even though they're losing time to those 2 right now, they're not going to be losing as much to the leader if they were with Kyle Larson, or if they're not losing as much time with Blaney out front as they would if Larson were out front. So right now, when they pit, they're going to potentially have the chance to get back to the lead. If Larson were to take it and be as fast as he is right now, he might blow all of these guys away and wind up leaving them with no chance to get to the lead without a caution. So I think everybody back there right now is hoping that Blaney is able to keep doing what he's done all race and just hold Larson off, which it looks like right now Larson's got the pace to get by him.
Side by side into turns 1. Is this the pass for the lead right here? We haven't seen this all night long.
He's good. He's gone. He gone.
Oh, hold up. Side by side. Blaney battles back. This is the first time someone's been able to compete, but now Larson's got half a car length into turns 3. Blaney's still strong on the outside, but it might not be enough here. Out of turns 4, Larson clears Ryan Blaney, and exactly what Jay was mentioning that the guys on 2 tires did not want to see happens right there as Kyle Larson goes through to the lead. 2.3 seconds behind is Kevin Harvick, as they're side by side right here between Almirola and Kurt Busch. But now, Jay, I mean, what can these guys even do at this point on 2 tires? I mean, they're kind of forced into a really awkward situation.
Just at this point, you're gonna have to run it out and then pit whenever you get to as far as you can go on those tires and as far as you can go on fuel, and try and pit before these 2 and gain some time that way, and then just hope for a caution. There's really nothing that these guys can do that's within their control right now. They're gonna have to hope for some kind of caution either now or whether it be once they pit and before the top 2 guys pit. So that's really the only thing they have going for them right now. And I'll go back to, again, I really do think that was a giant mistake to take 2 tires at the end of stage 2 there. And so far, it is proving that that is correct, that it was a mistake.
And after 111 laps so far, there is a possibility that for the first time this season, we could go caution free the whole race in terms of an actual incident causing crash. Or incident causing caution, sorry, here in this season. So, still quite a bit of time to go, so you never know. But now on lap 112 of 166, and Kyle Larson out of turns 4, opening up that gap between himself and Ryan Blaney. Kurt Busch made a pass there, moves up into that 3rd position here. So he is making up some nice ground as well as they sail it off into turns 1 and 2. So, I mean, Matt, you mentioned crew chiefs get fired. At this point, definitely, you got to wonder what in the world they were thinking to make that call to take 2 tires now, seeing that Larson and Blaney are 3 seconds ahead.
Yeah, it would have worked if there was like 5 to go.
But we had like 70 laps to go.
Yeah, so the peanut-sized brains of many crew chiefs should get fired.
Almirola trying to make a move here up the inside of Kevin Harvick. He's kind of been falling off. I mean, both Stewart Haas cars right there have been strong tonight, but not enough there for Almirola to do anything with Harvick now, as once again Kyle Larson continues to lead the way, but he's not driving away as much as I anticipated here. It's 3/10 between Kyle and Ryan, and out of turns 4, it looks like Blaney may be a little bit closer. I can't tell as they cross the line. It goes 0.35 to 0.41, so actually Larson opens it up by about half a tenth, so I was wrong there. But the first group of lap traffic these guys are going to meet are what you can see right there, but it's going to be quite a bit of time before they get there. So now that things have calmed down a little bit here in Darlington from the Goodyear 400, we're going to go to a quick break and come back to you in about probably 7 to 8 laps time and bring it to the end of this race here at Darlington Raceway. Welcome back here from Darlington. Out of nowhere, Kevin Harvick, Eric Almirola coming into the pit lane now, as we did not expect that whatsoever. So some strategy calls from those guys as they go down towards turns 1. They were like 7 or 8 seconds behind the leaders when that happened right there. As Kyle Larson and Ryan Blaney are now coming into the pit lane as they come through turns 3 and turns 4. Look up in the top of your screen. It's 125 of 166. So these guys will have to pit one more time, but not much left to go in the race, maybe within the final 10 to even close to 5 laps to go. So I guess, Jay, we see what Harvick and them were trying to do, but I mean, the guys with the freshest tires come in 1 lap later, so they're not really going to be able to make up a whole lot of ground here.
Yeah, with having to also still pit again, I really kind of question the thinking of Harvick and a lot of those guys that took 2 tires. You really should have pitted a lot earlier here, and maybe try and split up this final run. You get the fresher tires on your car. That way you're not losing so much time like you were when you're only on 2 tires, and you're actually gaining time back on these leaders, and then you don't have to make a ridiculous pit stop with only 5 laps to go. That really could have been the smart strategy call had they played it right, and they could have made a fool of us had they played that right, but they really didn't, and now they've put themselves in a situation here where they're going to need a caution, because if they don't get one, they have no chance.
But is anyone able to stretch it right now? Because they are on the basically just outside the window, right?
It is very close.
Yeah,
Oh
my God!
Kyle Larson crashes, leading the race. I don't know if that's going to be a caution either. Austin Dillon involved, but that's off the racing surface. Wow.
No caution. No caution. So Kyle Larson basically just threw his race away. That certainly was not helped by Austin Dillon. Austin Dillon definitely had a part in that as well. But Larson just turned right into him.
Dillon was trying to pit. Larson's trying to exit. Ryan Blaney is going to be sailing to victory if, I mean, it stays green. It is staying green. No caution. Like we said, Larson was off the racing surface. No reasoning to throw a caution at all. So, wow. And that just goes to show that, I mean, anything can happen in these NR races because, wow, I barely know how to react to that. We're just going to keep an eye on it right here, see if anything happens when these guys come out. But that was just horrible timing right there for Kyle Larson, who was trying to come out of the pit lane, and Austin Dillon was trying to come in. So, I mean, I guess, what is that, Jay, on the spotters, you think they're putting Larson in that position?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I'm sure he had no idea that Austin Dillon was to his inside, and I don't know if we're going to grab a replay or not, but in the replay, I'd be curious to see if Austin Dillon turned down into Larson as well, or if that was all Larson going to the right. It looked to me like it was all Larson just not knowing that he was there, not being told that he was there, and just turning right into Austin Dillon, which obviously that's left him with a lot of damage, and he lost a lot of time as well. So without a caution, Kyle Larson's hopes are over.
So Larson's actually still P6. Obviously, he would have been leading, obviously, by almost a full second over Blaney, but now is nearly 9 seconds back. So everything just got destroyed. Kyle Larson's whole race gone to garbage right there as Ryan Blaney has a 5 second lead over Kevin Harvick. But Harvick has the same tires now and just gained some time right there. But everything other than that incident is calm. So we're just gonna get a look at what just happened there between Kyle Larson and Austin Dillon here at Darlington. Larson coming out of the pit lane right here, just merging at the worst time possible. Austin Dillon's coming through. Luckily, that didn't turn into a larger incident. Austin Dillon with some heavy left side damage. He's going to have to get that fixed up, of course, so he's going to have a lengthy pit stop. And Kyle Larson gives up a ton of track position, but very fortunate for him, his race does not come to an end, but his chances at a Goodyear 400 victory have likely come to an end.
So as we can see with the slow down angle here, Larson definitely is coming up. He moves about 2 lanes up, but then Austin Dillon also does move down about half a lane or so by the time they're making contact. And man, Austin Dillon having having heavy contact there with that inside wall, but luckily he's able to keep it going. And the one area where this is really going to screw over Larson and Austin Dillon, obviously Larson's already been hurt by this, but when they have to pit again, if they have to pit again, Larson will have to fix that damage. And if it's under green, he may wind up losing his lead lap.
Erik Jones, as we were away looking at the replay, you see some damage on the right-hand side of the car. We saw some smoke coming out of a corner. Something has gone wrong for him. We already have a look at what just happened as Ryan Blaney continues to lead. But as we were looking at the replay, something goes wrong where Erik Jones has some right-side damage. Let's get a quick look at that as well. Erik Jones into turns one right here. You see it. He just gets a little bit too high into the wall. It was a very awkward scenario right there. But then as Logano and Stenos and Newman are coming by, boom, right there. He gets into the sixth. Into the wall he goes again. Logano right there behind it. He goes around once again because it's off the racing surface, just barely enough. No caution comes out as he comes back out just in front of the leader of Ryan Blaney right there. So all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we have two drivers with big moments here late in this race here in the Goodyear 400. There's a live look right now on the 43 of Erik Jones, but now the action definitely starting to pick up here in Darlington. We're also seeing that gap between Blaney and now second place of Kurt Busch come down quite considerably. Jay, we just saw right there, half a second from Kurt Busch that just got out of that gap between him and Ryan Blaney, but now he's got to deal with these two cars.
I think that honestly has a good bit to do with Blaney being held up right now by some lap cars. I don't know if he's still behind that Rick Ware car that he was behind. Okay, so no, he has gotten around him. So maybe we'll see the gap change here, especially now with Kurt Busch having to deal with his own traffic. But I think that also just might have something to do with Kurt Busch being faster as well. We saw him run down Harvick.
Almost a half
Harvick,
second.
And so now let's watch and see if Kurt Busch is able to run down Ryan Blaney here. It's going to be an awful lot to gain in 30-something laps.
That was about 1 second right there in 2 laps, but you see him dealing with all this traffic from Austin Dillon. He's got to get through now, who was a part of that incident with Larson, and then he's got to get through Jones, who's still on track after his recent incident as well. So Kurt Busch on the move, looking for a second win of the year. Won a few weeks back at Richmond, locked into the playoffs here. Now, still gained time. Blaney's in a clear track, and Kurt, we saw him passing a lap car. He still gained a good chunk of time right there, but now he's got to get on the move. And I mean, at the pace he's gaining, if he continues that consistently, he could get there. But now it's crucial for him to make this pass on Austin Dillon and Erik Jones as quickly as possible.
You know,
go ahead.
You know what is highly possible that's happening right now is we're awfully close to making it on a pit stop. Ryan Blaney has got a giant gap. Highly possible that he is saving right now, and Kurt Busch is going all for it. And if that's the case, if Ryan Blaney is indeed saving, he may be able to make it to the end, and Kurt Busch may not.
That's something we're going to have to keep an eye on. We know it's going to be close. I don't know if we're going to see anybody be able to stretch it, but like I said, it's definitely going to be close. You saw Kurt get past the 3 there. Harvick trying to follow through as well. But now Kurt's got to get through that 43 and then just haul the mail if he wants to get to Ryan Blaney. Already looking to the inside. 3.7 seconds now. It is going to be 4 seconds again. But now as Kurt sails it off into turns 1, he should clear the 43. Yes, he does. Oh, Jones.
There's the wall. Oh, no. Here we go again.
I think he's okay. Yes. That's the second time, though, Matt. I mean, what's going on with that 43? I mean, he's got to be a little bit tight or something.
Richard Petty Motorsports do not bring good cars.
there he is again. Now he's right. He is planted right in the way of that 3 of Austin Dillon. Kurt Busch comes through 4.07 seconds in a clear lap. He loses time that time around. Not sure what that one was about. That's a little bit surprising, Jay, as we saw him gain, like a second and a half in over 3 laps.
He might be being told to save now as well. Either that or just some kind of pace difference happened or something. But with Ryan Blaney keep coming up on these lap cars, Kurt Busch may just wind up gaining no matter what. And I don't know if we're going to be able to see him gain all that time. I mean, like I said a second ago, that's almost just way too much time to overcome with the amount of laps that are left. But it's highly possible that Kurt Busch is now not gaining because he's also being told to save as well.
Here you see some other battles going on around the track. It's only going to be 26 laps to go when they cross the line. Joey Logano having a rough race right now. I mean, things were going well for him earlier, but now he's down to like P27. Truex in P25 trying to rebound. Now we got a car on the wall here. Timmy Hill in the outside wall, still in the wall as he comes through out of turn 2. Hits it again, but actually keeps it going in the right direction. But now we're starting to see some guys get into that outside wall here, and it's just a matter of time, I think, before one of those goes wrong and we see them just clean somebody out. So we got to keep an eye on that now as these guys are getting more aggressive, pushing their cars harder and harder. Now, as we look through the rest of this grid right now, Chris Buescher, he's had a rough day. Well, now he's found himself up into P15, kind of typical Chris Buescher fashion. Usually we're expecting him to be in the top 10, but, I mean, there's still one more pit stop potentially here, so we'll have to wait and see what happens there. Kyle Larson, though, where's he running? He is still P6, trying to put some pressure on Eric Almirola, but, Jay, it's pretty evident to us that damage has done him in, as he is, once he dropped down to P6, he hasn't been able to do anything since then.
Yeah, that damage is certainly affecting him a lot, and if I'm Larson, honestly, I'm pulling the saving strategy as well. He's not terribly far back right now. He does have quite a considerable gap, but I mean, if he's able to save, that gap doesn't matter. So hopefully he's already been smart enough and kind of played that and just gone full bore with having the damage and being back there and trying to save. He's already got to win the season, so it's not like it matters if he winds up running out of fuel and finishing 30th. Well, that doesn't really matter. So he should be trying it, and I have to think that there's probably several others trying to save as well to not have to pit again. So I'm going to be interested to see what happens here towards the end of this race.
Kurt Busch has been closing a little bit again on Ryan Blaney there. The time has been coming down now, 3.5 seconds between those two guys as you see these midfield battles going on. Denny Hamlin behind Brad Keselowski there for P12. As they look to the inside of BJ McLeod into turns 1, I believe that was. There's Larson. He's got to get through some lap traffic of his own. We got the 62 of Gragson in the way. Matt DiBenedetto, overall having a really good run right now, running in the 4th position. But look at this. Kurt Busch, that time's going to definitely increase now because now he looks to the inside. Harvick was about to take advantage right there, but it goes from 3.5 to 3.9. So he loses about half a second. Harvick trying to get to the outside right here. This is exactly what Ryan Blaney needs to keep him in good position as they come through out of turns too. So, Jay, if you're a guy like Kurt Busch, as I see a car on the wall back there, it was Gregson, he keeps it clean. But if you're Kurt Busch, do you just commit to a saving strategy? Maybe try to make it, he already has a win as well. Or do you maybe just short pit and try to get an advantage there, maybe beat Blaney off if he does eventually end up coming into the pit lane?
I think you just hit right now because I don't think they can make it. I think they're 5 laps short.
I think at this point that it's just going to have to be him trying to save. Like Kyle Larson, he's got to win already this season, so it doesn't matter if he finishes 30th place. So he might as well just try and save as well. That gap is way too large for him to overcome. There's no way he's going to be able to do it without just saving here and making it to the end and having one less pit stop than Ryan Blaney or some of these other guys who has to pit. So I think that pretty much everybody's trying to play the save game right now, and I don't know if it's going to work for everybody, but for the 1 or 2 that it does, we may wind up seeing them win. So let's see what happens here.
Less than 20 laps to go now. As Matt, you said you think they're 5 laps short. So, do you think it's possible to save that many here at this point?
No.
No? We'll have to wait and see. Now as Blaney clears the 96 of Ty Dillon, there's across the line. So Kurt was 4.07 seconds back. Now he's 3.4. So the gap keeps going back and forth as they deal through the lap traffic. Of course, it just comes down to where do they catch these cars, and Kurt Busch hasn't been catching them at a great time. Blaney's been doing pretty good through traffic, but now there's not much more cars. I mean, if he got up to this group right here, it would be a completely different scenario here as they sail it off into turns 1 and 2. So LaJoie right now having a subpar run in front of Ryan Newman. Logano just really struggling here late in this race now as they almost go 3 wide right there. We haven't really seen a lot of 3 wide action. I mean, can't really do 3 wide very often here as Kurt Busch continues to close that gap. Less than 20 to go, closing in towards the final 15. Is there enough time? That's the big question right now. As LaJoie,
hard on the wall.
surprisingly, he didn't propel off the wall and into a car, so that was a very lucky break right there. But we're seeing increasingly these guys hit this wall here in this final stage. So I think it's just a matter of time before one of them hits it, causes a caution. But hopefully they keep it clean for the most part right now. As we are even closer now to, for the first time this year, having a caution-free race in terms of incidents causing caution. So it will be 16 laps to go this time by. So Matt, I mean, they got to be pitting within probably 10 or so laps. So, I mean, we know how important that pit stop's going to be. We saw Blaney lose a bunch of positions earlier on strategy. I mean, what do you do here? Just 2 tires, or you just take no tires and just feel?
I think you only need 5-10 laps. Just take a splash. No tires. I don't think they could catch you in time.
I think that's really the way they will go.
If you wanted to take tires, you'd have to short pit a long time ago.
And now it's just too late at this point. So Kurt Busch, it is 3 seconds. That gap's closing, but look at Blaney. He is right on the back of the 34 McDowell. After he gets past that, he's got to deal with really the 51, and then he should be in pretty good shape after that. So things are looking really good for Blaney now as Kurt Busch closes in about another 0.4 of a second. So it's now 2.5 seconds. That's the smallest gap we've had between first and second since the Kyle Larson incident there with Austin Dillon. As Austin Dillon still has a fairly solid amount of speed in that car because he's been hanging with Kevin Harvick this whole time. But as they exit turn 4 this time around, we're going to be interested to see. Now, Blaney had a clear track. Kurt Busch had a clear track. What does the gap go down to? 2.67 to now 2 seconds flat. So nearly 0.7 of a second now. Is there still a slim chance? And with a pit stop coming, the pit entry is going to be very key. I mean, Matt, what I would do here if I'm Kurt Busch maybe is I would come in moments before he gets to these guys, right?
No, pit now.
Because he's going to lose so much time trying to fight through these cars right here as they are going at it right now.
Got tires. Alfredo could screw with Blaney here.
He could. 2 seconds flat now. 1.6.
7.
It's not over.
Flying.
Kurt Busch, Ryan Blaney had his heart broke at Phoenix earlier this year when he was in position to win that race, and then Joey Logano stole it in the final moments in a photo finish. Kurt Busch trying to replicate what Logano did here in the closing laps. Now it will be 12 laps to go when they come to the line. Here goes Alfredo. Look at those tires kicking in. Blaney does not need that whatsoever, but Alfredo really shouldn't be an issue. But now 1.67 seconds to 1.39 seconds. It's getting closer and closer. Jay, we're seeing this gap now come down from it was 3 seconds a handful of laps ago. Now 1.3 seconds. Kurt Busch is putting the pressure on Ryan Blaney here in the closing laps.
So now I have to think maybe that Blaney is still saving and Kurt Busch isn't, or Kurt Busch is just going full on out. Either way, he's gaining time here on Blaney, and that's not what Blaney wants to see. If Kurt really does have this much of a faster car, it may not matter what Blaney does anymore. Kurt may just be able to blow right on by him.
He lost a little bit of time right there.
He has to get by these cars.
Yeah,
now.
Blaney has that advantage where he's got the 34 and the 96 in his way. Kurt's got to make the pass. Blaney does have to deal with Cody Ware, but that's all he's going to have to deal with for the rest of this race. Kurt needs to make a move into 3 and 4 on the 96 of Ty Dillon and into turns 3 and 4. It's not happening. Kurt is stuck behind that 96. There he goes out of turns 4. He's going to get him clear probably down into turns 1, maybe even before. Yeah, sure enough, he's clear. So he's got to deal with one more car. Blaney is already, he caught that 51 in a great spot, but he still did lose a tiny bit of time. But that was a really good spot to get by him there. So now 10 laps to go here in Darlington. 10 laps left before we have our first race ever without a crash cause caution. Now, as you see, these guys way too far ahead to cause any issues for the leaders now. So it's going to become down, or it's going to come down into the final moments of pit stops, which now Almirola pits, but of course I don't think they're going to take tires. The gap now down to 1 second between Kurt Busch and Ryan Blaney. So I mean, do you think these guys are going to take tires here? Do you think they're maybe going to throw right sides on it, Matt?
I think you just take the splash. You get so far ahead, you won't have time to catch them.
And if I'm Kurt Busch, I pit right here. I think Harvick's might be pitting. Kevin Harvick's coming in. Wow.
If they can't make it to the end, that could be move of the race for Kevin Harvick.
Kurt Busch, what's he gonna do? They're going side by side in front of him.
He's gonna get pinned.
Worst case scenario, less than a second between Blaney and Kurt, but Kurt's got nowhere to go as it comes through turns 1 and 2. He's got to hope he gets clear of this 34.
He's gonna clear him here. The runoff 2.
Yes, sure enough, he's clear. Blaney's pitting into 3. Kurt's gonna stay out. Oh, man, I don't know about this call right here from this Chip Ganassi crew. I think they should pit right now, but no, they're going to stay out. And he's under pressure as they exit turns 4. McDowell back up the inside. Look at this. Kurt Busch can't do anything right now. What's Blaney going to do on the pit lane is the real question here, as we're going to get a look on that.
Now the question becomes, can Kurt Busch truly make it to the end of this race? I don't think he can, but if he's able to save and make it to the end, that's an incredible move there from that one team.
No, there's no way.
Kurt Busch.
He looks like he's spinning right now.
Yep, here he comes.
So
I don't know
Kevin
about this
Harvick
one.
Wind up being the leader of this race? I think he will be.
Blaney's not out. He's taking tires.
Larson, by the way, is fixing that damage on their car. Blaney, is it going to be just 2 tires? 2 tires for the 12. Now we know Kurt Busch is on the pit lane. That's the big one to watch. Is what if Kurt Busch takes fuel only? I mean, there's no way. Yeah, absolutely. And there's only a handful of laps to go. Right now, I mean, as it stands right now, the 41 actually leads the way. That's the big question. If Cole Custer's leading the way currently, but Kurt comes into his pit stall, do they jack up the right side of the car? Yes, they do. Right sides for Kurt Busch. So now, we're going to see him right here. He's going to go.
Where's the 41? The 41's the leader.
We're trying to find him. As by the way, where's the 12? There's Blaney right there. Kurt Busch gets cleared big time. Yeah, no, there's no chance for Kurt now. Harvick's there.
Chase Elliott is indeed pitting, so now it's going to be Ryan Blaney, and I think maybe no one else left to pit.
Alex Bowman, what's Bowman doing? Yep, he's pitting as well. So Kyle Busch. Did I just see the caution lights? I don't believe I did. No, okay, we're okay. I thought I saw the caution lights on. I thought we were about to have a chaotic...
Kyle Busch was on pit road.
Yep.
And Harvick is there.
It's between these two. Keselowski, Briscoe...
is going to be a factor in this.
And BJ McLeod.
Oh, my God.
Ross Chastain is known for being in the way a few times here and there throughout his career in the Xfinity Series, in the Cup Series. Harvick is on him. Is he going to look up the inside? 3 laps to go here in Darlington. Right now, as they come through to cycle through, this should put the 12 in the lead now officially, as he is right on the back of the number 42 of Ross Chastain, the Talladega Superspeedway winner. And, oh, this is an awkward moment right here, is now into turns 3. Where are they going to go? Blaney, he's just going to stay there. Harvick's going to look inside. It's been a terrible season after Harvick won 2 races to start the season. He went back-to-back with the 500, the Daytona Road Course, and now with 3 laps to go, they're side-by-side for the lead between Harvick and Blaney, and Harvick is going to clear him.
Oh, my God.
But does Blaney fight back? I mean, Blaney might have the advantage of Harvick being held up now, as he might... Not enough. Into 3 and 4, 2 laps to go at the line. So, I mean, Harvick's going to have to be in the same position where he's going to have to pass that 42 and the 78. So, I think that Blaney, it might not be over. He might be able to kind of catch Harvick off guard as they're side by side now into 1 and 2. This is not what you want to see for Kevin Harvick now.
This is going to be all about lane choice for the 2 leaders here. With those 2 being side by side, they're going to have to catch them at the right time and be in the right lane. If not, Ryan Blaney might be able to easily get around Harvick here.
Blaney threw away a win in Phoenix earlier this season. It's going to come down here to the final lap. Harvick not wasting any time.
That was the right move there for Kevin Harvick. Get to his inside,
White
coming on the
flag.
straightaway, and he'll be to the inside in turn one here. That may have been the move that wins him this race.
But he's
Blaney.
gonna let. Oh my God, Blaney's on the outside.
Oh, he tags the wall. Harvick slips up a little bit side by side. Out of turns two. If Blaney gets clear, it's
Blaney
over. He cleared him. A last lap pass for Ryan Blaney on the outside. Harvick multiple car lengths behind into 3 and 4. Does he have anything? Out of turns 4, does not appear. He does. Stenhouse Steven looks to the inside, and all of a sudden on the last lap, Blaney comes back, makes a pass, and Ryan Blaney wins the Goodyear 400 at Darlington Raceway. And wow, what a finish here in Darlington. The whole race, not a single crash causing caution. The third and final stage stayed green the whole time through, and it still came down to a last lap pass to determine the winner. Now, as you look through the rest of the order real quick, Matt DiBenedetto actually up there in the top 5, but Kurt Busch P3. We thought Kurt was going to be the one going for the win. Turns out not now, as well. We got Cole Custer in the top 10, Elliott, William Byron, Ryan Preece, Bubba Wallace finishing in that 10th position. But wow, what a finish that was here in the Goodyear 400 at Darlington. So there you see Kyle Larson, disappointing end for him to the day. They had to fix that damage, ended up P24 when the race finally came to a close here in Darlington.
Wow.
But wow.
Wow, was I wrong about that inside line? I thought that Harvick, all day, it seemed like the inside line was all right in turns 1 and 2. It wasn't that bad. And I thought him making that move there to the inside of the 42 was going to be the move that wound up winning him the race to keep him from getting held up. And he went into 1 and 2 and just lost. It looked like he lost all grip and had nothing for Ryan Blaney. And the same thing for 3 and 4 as well. So I was severely wrong. I did not see that happening there at all. I thought Harvick had it secured.
As did I. I was very shocked. I thought when he got clear, I did think Blaney would have a chance there. I didn't think he was going to be able to capitalize on it the way he did. So Ryan Blaney with the first win of the year. And Jay, I mean, we look back to Phoenix. He barely lost out in a photo finish. He would have been a winner at Talladega if I didn't delete that footage. So he could have already now been sitting on 3 wins this year, but instead still picks up just his first win on the season. But we've been seeing Blaney ourselves strong this season. So I feel like it was just a matter of time until we saw him in victory lane.
Yeah, I have to agree, especially like you said, like you mentioned there with Phoenix, just barely losing it to Logano, and then your little blunder there at Talladega costing him a win as well. So he's looked good this season. He just hasn't been able to get that win until now. And now that he's got that win, I mean that's pressure taken off of his shoulders. He's now locked into the playoffs. Maybe we see him go and rack off a few more wins. Now that he doesn't feel like he has to win, and everything is reliant on that. And now they may take some more gutsy strategy calls. They may do some different things. So who knows? We may see Ryan Blaney now become the guy who's the person to beat towards the end of this regular season.
And before we end the episode, a couple key things that I want to mention here in the race results. So Daniel Suarez actually managed to rebound to P19. He came into this race 12 points above the cut line against guys like Christopher Bell. He ended up beating Christopher Bell by a few positions before the race came to a close. But Keselowski, who was 20 points below the cut line, we saw him run well in stage 1, kind of faded in stage 2, but still got a 13th place finish out of it. Eric Jones, well, we saw what happened to Eric Jones. He was 24 points coming into this race below the cut line and had that incident, ends up 2 laps down in P37. Ryan Newman, 25 points below the cut line coming into this one. He had a bit of a rough day as well.
Briscoe and Bowman as well, finishing there 15th and 16th. Those two needed good runs. We know Bowman is, I think you said 40-something points out, 48 points out, and Briscoe is 65, I think, out. So that's definitely 2 good runs for those 2 guys who really needed it. And then look at Timmy Hill finishing 2nd place above Logano and Kyle Larson. Now, obviously, we know what happened to Kyle Larson, but he finished above Joey Logano. And I don't think there was anything that went wrong with Joey. He just didn't have the pace today.
Yeah, he was just slow after he fell off. Logano already has a win. He saved Buescher, P17. It was actually looking like if Kyle Larson held on to what he was doing, it was looking like a potential victory. He would have actually likely taken over the regular season point lead. Well, we saw what happened with Kyle Larson. Larson ends up all the way down wherever he was in P24. Yeah, so a rough day for Larson as well, or a rough finish for Larson. So some big names there. I don't think I will, of course, calculate the points up after this episode, but based off of what we are seeing, I don't think there's actually going to be a huge shakeup there. Austin Dillon, he was 26 below, ends up P28, so a rough night for him. But I think the one driver that is really in a bad spot that is going to gain is Kyle Busch. He only finished P11, but he gained a good chunk of stage points in stage 1, stage 2 as well, and overall doesn't finish top 10, but still manages to get P11 and J. I think this is a good night for Kyle Busch, considering the season he has had, and it's going to be a good opportunity for him to get closer to that cut line.
One of the few races this year where we have not talked about Kyle Busch being involved in an incident. He's really has started to look better these last couple of races, and he started to get in a better points position than he was. He's still outside of the playoffs, but it could have been a whole lot worse had his season kept going the way that it was. So he's looking in a much better position than he was now. And at the end of stage 1, I honestly thought that Brad Keselowski, with the way he was, with the way he looked and was getting stage points, I thought that he was going to easily get himself inside of the playoffs here. But now that he finished 13th and Matt DiBenedetto, the last one in the playoffs, finished 4th, I don't know if Brad will be inside the playoffs, but I certainly think he'll probably have gained some points here and be a little bit closer to being inside that cutoff line.
So with that being said, I have the points calculated at the end of the episode, but we would of course like to thank you all for taking the time out of your day to watch this episode and all the other ones on the channel. Next week we go to Dover International Speedway, so some quote-unquote short track racing at the Monster Mile, so that'll be a good one to watch. And then after that we go to Circuit of the Americas, then we got the Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte, and then we got Sonoma, so a good chunk of tracks on the way. Going to be very interesting to see what happens. Dover, I think Jay, Matt, real quick, picks for Dover potentially. I think a favorite, Kyle Larson probably.
I'll go with I'll go with Brad Keselowski.
Brad Keselowski, what about?
We've seen him start to turn it up there, or turn it up this season, the last couple of weeks, and we've seen Penske overall start to look a whole lot better the last couple of weeks. They've looked decent all season, but the last couple of weeks they've started to have a lot of speed. So I'll go with Brad Keselowski.
What about you, Matt? Who do you got?
Denny Hamlin.
Denny Hamlin again. He didn't win tonight. Finished outside of the top 10. So we'll see what happens. But once again, thank you all for watching. We'll see you guys next week at Dover. Have a great day, everybody.